Let's get sweaty.
Hey guys, hope you're doing all well. Welcome to another Shenmue Dojo video. This is a sort of a news video, but also a little bit of a deep dive video. It's not going to be too long, but I wanted to talk about the 6 chapter cards that have been released by Adam Scipione, who is the director, producer, creator of A Gamer's Journey, The Definitive History of Shenmue. That Kickstarter is obviously finished, and they're now getting into the phase of shipping, so keep your eyes out for any further updates around that. Currently, they have the physical copies in their hands, and they're just getting ready to ship these things out, and I can't wait to have that thing in my hand. Part of what they did is obviously went to WiseNet, and they got to film WiseNet, what they're doing, and a lot of the source material was also filmed. And what they did was got high definition shots of 6 of these chapter tiles that we've only seen really through GDC, and fairly low res at that. So we haven't always been able to go into the detail of these properly and have a proper look at them. So what I wanted to do for this video is just free flow it and have a look at these chapter cards and just talk about what we see there, really. Put some fan theories out there, my own theories, and just see where we end up, really. Just nice and chilled with it. Again, just my opinion on these things. Happy to engage with anything or different opinions or whatever around what I may or may not say here. So with all that in mind, let's crack on. We've got 6 of these to get through, so might have to be fairly speedy a little bit. So first, I'm going to bring up the first chapter tile, and I'm pretty sure you will recognise this one. So on the screen here now, you can see the first chapter card, and it's pretty familiar. You've got Ryo standing at the harbour with Guizhang and Master Chen to his right, and then sort of faded into the background at the top there, you've got Landy, the 2 black suits, and the silhouette of his father, basically. So that's signifying the first step of his journey, the Akoskus chapter, if you like. There isn't a huge amount here that we don't really know or didn't really get in Shenmue 1. So we won't spend too much time on this tile, but just having a very quick zoomed in look at it. It's a very well drawn piece of artwork. They really should make some posters of these things, quite frankly, but it's really impressive. So, shifting on to the next chapter card here. So this one signifies the Hong Kong Kowloon aspect of the journey. So at the bottom here, you can see Ryo, or Akira, as he would have been known back then, because these were done when this was still a Virtual Fighter RPG, remember? And then you've got Ren here with Zhuing, and in the background here, you've got Dou Neo, Yuan with the chainsaw, a few of the henchmen there, and down here you've got Wong, Sam, Larry, etc. as well, with the background of Kowloon, Hong Kong, and the jet there as well. So, broadly speaking, this is pretty much what we got in terms of Shenmue 2. There's some other bits from Shenmue 2 that end up further on, and I'm just going to bring this into a fan theory a little bit. But before we dive into that again, I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. So at the top here, you've got the jet, the moon. You can see Yuan here, Dou Neo, some henchmen. Ren, whose design's pretty consistent with the final game. Zhuing, her design's pretty consistent with the final game there. And obviously Ryo Akira with his backpack there, which obviously went through a design change. Wong looks pretty similar to what we got in the game. Ren's henchmen had a little bit of a redesign in some respects. I mean, Cool Z isn't there, for example, just to point that out. So that's number 2, broadly to what we got in Shenmue 2. We're now on to fan theory territory. Chapter card 3 here. So straight away, you can see the wheels of train at the bottom here. And there's a very creepy looking face there. Now, that could be Chai, possibly. That's one theory that's been going around the forums. It could be something different altogether. And then here you've got the background from the train window with Ryo and Ren sat on the train. You can see that Ryo or Akira is in his green training gi here. You've got the Phoenix Mirror in the middle. I'm not quite sure who these people are here, but I'd be interested to find out. This lady looks a little bit like Guizhang from Shenmue 2, actually, if I had to point that out. So some little theories here. Obviously, the big one here is in the Project Berkeley video, you see Ryo hanging off a train. So that was intended to happen here, presumably. So that's one thing that could potentially get repurposed and used elsewhere. Who knows? You also have to remember, going back to a few interviews a few years back, it was mentioned by Yu Suzuki that Shanghai might well come into this. And to get to Shanghai, you can get a train from Shuzo, which has also been mentioned in Shenmue folklore and is also in the Virtua Fighter renders, that you get a train from Shuzo to Shanghai. So could this have been the train that got you there? Quite possibly. Could they use this somewhere else? Well, you never know, do you? I'd love them to use it. And that image of Ryo hanging off the train as he goes wherever he's going, essentially, is iconic for me. And it's certainly something I would be really keen to see. So just zooming in here again, the background's really nicely detailed. Actually, they're out in what it looks like in rural China. Obviously, Ren with his standard design, Ryo now in the gi, the Phoenix mirror, which looks broadly similar to the games, if not slightly darker there. And then coming in here, you've got the face here, which, like I say, it could be Chai, it could be somebody else. Random people, I'm not quite sure who they are. She's holding a baby, actually, by the looks of it there. Now, that's interesting. And he is in very royal clothing. Could they be related to Shenhua's lineage, for example? I just want to check that out there, see what you guys think about that. And obviously the train going wherever it is going. Moving on to chapter card number 4. So number 4 here is quite clear. You can see Ryo or Akira fighting. You can see his stances there. You can see still Akira here with the wristbands on there, which he obviously has in Virtua Fighter 2. You've got 4 sort of silhouette shadows here. One that looks like Landy. I'm not sure who the guy on the right is here, but he looks like Lau from Virtua Fighter. The guy at the bottom here, I'm not too sure. Some people have speculated it might be Zimming. And this guy here is Yang Lang. He is absolutely 100% the spitting image of Yang Lang. So I would assume that's definitely him. In the middle here, you've got Yuanda Zhu and 3 helpers. He's in a chair. At the bottom here, which I found really interesting, is you've got a fighting arena with lots of people watching. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so you can see it a bit more. So my theory here is, was the sort of street fighting element of Shenmue 2 in this chapter tile, and then they moved it over to make it one big area, so they've incorporated some of this chapter card as an example? Or was this moved into Shenmue 3 a little bit, where you obviously have the Rose Guard and you have the dojo fighting system, and they make some element of that? So that's a little bit of fan theory there for you. The next bit I want to talk about is Yuanda Zhu. Now, it is implied here, and this isn't definitive or anything, but it's implied here that you come across Zhu in Chapter 4. As we know, we find him in Hong Kong, Kowloon rather. So it is implied this is a separate location, and it isn't Kowloon, so it's somewhere else. And also, we're led to believe through interviews through the years that Zhu can't always be trusted. So it's very interesting here. And then you've got the 4 guys here with Ryo or Akira in the middle there. And as I say, that looks like Landy to me. I don't know who he is, but he looks like Lau from Virtua Fighter. I'm not sure who he is. Potentially Mr. G, but I would be surprised. And this is absolutely Yang Lang here. So then coming on to chapter card 5. You will recognise this straight away. This is the Guilin section of Shenmue. It's the end of Shenmue 2, and it is most of Shenmue 3. The artwork is very self-explanatory. Shenfa in the middle. I'm not sure what she's holding there. Some sort of food. She's got a satchel with Ryo or Akira sat in his green training gi talking to her, and you can see his bag at the bottom there. And then you've got the silhouette of Niao-san here. So was it intended, for example, that she was going to be introduced potentially sooner in the Shenmue 3 arc? She might have been introduced in Bailu Village in the original idea, possibly. I don't know, but it's just a little fan theory there. Obviously, if you go back to the beta footage, you do see her model in with the trees and a few other bits and pieces. Very shadowy, very dark. So this would fit that sort of area, I guess, for her. And as you can see, she's in a very similar looking red dress to what she actually wears in Shenmue 3. So it's probably not a huge amount of fan theory here, only that this is quite a way down the line. We're sort of halfway through the story here, judging by the original chapter tiles. And then, finally, is number 6 here. Now, this, for me, is one of the more interesting cards, in my personal opinion. So, let's go through this in a sort of an order here. You've got a city here. Now, to me, that looks like Niaowu, just by the design of the buildings. It may not be, but if I'm sort of going on what Shenmue 3 looked like, I would hazard a guess this is possibly Niaowu. So you've got Akira and Ryo in his training gi here. He's lost the sleeves, interestingly, which I find quite interesting. You see Yang Lang back here. Now that is definitely 100% his design there from Shenmue 3. Is him 100%. I do wonder how he was going to play out in the original story. Was he going to have much more of a role in terms of defeating Ryo Akira, and then the training arc sort of kicked in? Obviously, we get a bit of it in Shenmue 3, but was there more planned? Background here as well, you've again got Niao's son. Her design's slightly different. She's obviously got like a tiara type thing in her head, and she's wearing the red dress. She's looking a lot more sinister here, and clearly is a key part of this section here. So for me, it implies that she may have had more in the original story than we got in Niaowu, and was it potentially planned that she would have much more of a role in that chapter and how things developed in Ryo's story? Quite possibly. Obviously, she disguised herself, and it's not mentioned here, but so she did have something to do with it, but I suspect she was a lot more complicit in things in the original story over what we got in Shenmue 3, unfortunately. On what looks like balancing on the top of Ryo or Akira's head is some sort of master. Now, this could be anyone, really. My take on it is, and I've seen this on the forums a little bit as well, so I tend to agree with this, is that it was probably one of either Grandmaster Feng or Grandmaster Sun who do train Ryo. And bearing in mind, Grandmaster Sun does train Ryo with the chicken catching, the rooster step, the horse stance, and obviously teaches him the body check. So it is quite possible it's him. And if you look at his clothing, for example, as well, I would hazard a guess he is probably a washed up drunken master. It certainly would fit the idea. Also, this guy does end up being in some of the Shenmue beta footage and the Project Berkeley stuff. You see him for a split second, an absolute split second. And then, interestingly, in this sort of sun background here, you've got what I think is Shenfa here. It looks like her again at the back there, but I could be mistaken. And then you've got Ren there. So you've got that symbolism of that friendship, that developing relationship between the three of them. Now, we already get some of that relationship development in Shenmue 3 and in Shenmue 2 between Ryo and Shenfa with all the conversations that they have. It's interesting that Ren's here. And I do wonder, with the character perspective system, whether they planned more story for Ryo and Ren to develop that relationship that they obviously started in Shenmue 2, which was very much brotherly. Pretty of a love-hate relationship, quite possibly, but I do speculate they may have had more planned. And it's not to say they haven't shifted that idea over, and that we will get some of that in Shenmue 4. But it's very interesting to see these up close for the first time. I mean, bearing in mind, I struggle personally. I don't know if other people did, but I struggle personally to see in here, for example. And these are fantastically put together. They really, really should be on posters here. And you can see there's development in Ryo here in the way he's standing, in the way he looks. He looks more serious. Obviously, he's lost his sleeves as well. So he is moving through his journey as well. So I suspect that's more symbolic than anything else. So guys, bit of a crash course, absolutely. But I just wanted to put everything out there and see what you guys think about it at the end of the day. What do you think about these chapter cards? Where do you think the story's going? What have they cut? What could be moved? And essentially, what do you want? You know, what do you want from these chapter cards? Do you want some of it moved? Do you want some of it to come back? Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Let us know on social media. Obviously, guys, thank you as always for dropping in on the comments, the content that we're putting out, engaging on social media and all the rest of it. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, all the usual places. It's Shenmue Dojo on most of them, apart from Twitter, where it's Shenmue_Dojo. And guys, thank you so much. I'll be back with a video in the not too distant future. But for now, guys, take care. Have a good one.